My mom is a dragon. One day, she laid 2 eggs and, well, me. She recognized the eggs immediately. Me? Not so much. She took one look at me, decided I was some kind of parasite, and promptly picked me up in her teeth and tossed me out of the nest. It wasn't until a sudden memory flickered in her scaly head, a memory of that time she'd spent the night with a 2-legged human, that she realized her mistake. She flew out into the night and snatched me back.
Welcome to a journey of love and destiny under the moonlight. I'm the voice behind Moonlit Love Stories. Now let us step into the story.
My mom is a dragon. One day she laid 2 eggs and, well, me. She recognized the eggs immediately. Me? Not so much. She took one look at me, decided I was some kind of parasite, and promptly picked me up in her teeth and tossed me out of the nest. It wasn't until a sudden memory flickered in her scaly head, a memory of that time she'd spent the night with a 2-legged human, that she realized her mistake. She flew out into the night and snatched me back. My mom's life could be summarized in 2 words: eating and sleeping. Specifically, sleeping with various males of all species. When she had eggs, she laid them. She never bothered to hatch them. They were left to survive or die on their own. But this time, she'd popped out a human. I was pink, naked, had hands and feet, and I could move and cry. Suddenly, she was at a total loss. She poked and prodded me for ages, muttering to herself. No claws, no fangs, not even a shell. She tried tossing me high into the sky to see if I'd catch the wind. When she saw me falling straight back down like a stone, she lunged to catch me just in time. Can't fly either, she sighed. Still, I was her own flesh and blood. Despite her confusion, she knew this tiny little person couldn't survive on its own. So, she took me with her everywhere. Sometimes she'd carry me in her mouth. Other times, she'd balance me on her forehead. Wherever she went, I went. Even when she transformed into her human form to visit the mortal realm for some decent food, she didn't forget me. She'd just tuck me under her armpit like a rolled-up mat. One day, an old woman's finger trembled as she pointed at us, her voice shaking. Young lady, what on earth are you carrying under your arm? My mom, busy gnawing on a massive beef marrow bone, answered through a mouthful of meat. It's a human. I laid it. The old woman nearly fainted on the spot. It was only then that my mom realized that when a little person stops crying, it doesn't always mean they're asleep. Sometimes, it means they're about to starve to death. The old woman explained that a baby needs to be fed milk every hour. My mother was genuinely baffled. Why can't your daughter-in-law just give her a huge meal all at once? She asked. I eat one full meal and don't have to touch food again for 60 years. The old woman gave my mother a long, hard look before kicking her out of the house. And here I was wondering why you didn't know how to nurse a child. Turns out you're just a half-wit. Before I came along, my mother's dragon life was occupied with 2 things: eating and sleeping. After I arrived, a 3rd task was added: hunting for milk. In my mother's eyes, all living things were equal. There was no high or low, no noble or lowly. So when it came to finding milk for me, she wasn't picky. If she saw a female creature with milk, she'd grab me and charge right in. Fortunately, my mother is a dragon. In this world, there aren't many species brave enough to tell her no. For a whole year, my mother carried me across the 3 realms on a tour of eating. I went from being a toothless milk drinker to a little monster who could snatch food right out of a dragon's mouth. My front teeth hadn't even poked through yet, but my 4 canine fangs were already fully grown. Even more distracting were the 2 strange bumps on my forehead. When they first appeared, my mother pinched them for a long time. These ugly things, they couldn't be dragon horns, could they? Later, when the bumps went down, she finally breathed a sigh of relief. Oh, they were just bruises from a fall. Since I was already capable of gnawing on ribs, my mother decided I should be able to hunt my own fish. She transformed into her true dragon form, balanced me on her head, and dove straight into the ocean. My child, mother is taking you for seafood. Me, glub gurgle help. My mother roamed the deep sea while I bobbed and sank on the surface. She chased schools of fish, gulping them down one after another in a frenzy. I was tossed around by the waves, swallowing mouthful after mouthful of salt water, until I was choking. My mother was born to the water, so the word drowning didn't exist in her dictionary. By the time she noticed I wasn't keeping up, I was already floating on the surface, belly up. Does my child have no appetite? Why is she sleeping here? When I didn't respond to her calls, she simply scooped me up onto her forehead and soared into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. According to my mother's memory, if a pretty immortal hadn't stopped her and insisted her brat was dying, she would have flown all the way to Yuling Mountain in one breath. And then I wouldn't have missed that Taotai feast, my mother would say, her face full of regret and indignation whenever she told the story. I was only 3 years old then. I'd never had a Taotai feast, so I didn't feel the loss, and I usually had no reaction to her complaints. Every time, my mother would offer a friendly reminder. That immortal ignored my protests and snatched you away. He pounded on your back so hard you threw up everywhere. Then he poked your ribs with his fingers until you wailed. Sigh, it's all your mother's fault for not being able to beat him. That annoying immortal was just a bit too powerful. Hearing the part about being hit until I cried, I finally felt the anger. Together, my mother and I cursed that immortal. My mother would nod satisfied and take me up the mountain to hunt wild game. After a hearty meal, the two of us were squatting on a mountain peak, picking our teeth. A white cloud shot past our eyes. Whoosh! The gust of wind knocked me flat on my back. As I scrambled to find my footing, my mother was already standing with her hands on her hips, swearing at the sky. Whose brat is so blind? Driving a cloud that fast. Don't you know how to apologize when you hit someone? The perpetrator, of course, didn't respond. In a fit of rage, my mother transformed into her dragon shape and gave chase. A dragon's roar pierced the sky, and in the blink of an eye, she was gone. I was left alone, a tiny 3-year-old standing in the wind on a desolate mountain top. I watched the direction she vanished in, and let out a heavy sigh. This wasn't the first time I'd been forgotten. I just hoped she'd remember me a bit sooner this time. Unfortunately, the sky turned dark and bright and dark, many times over, and there was still no sign of my mother. Instead, an immortal with flowing robes descended from the clouds. He rested his chin on his hand, watched me for a moment and smiled. The little thing is still alive. What a beautiful immortal. He was prettier than all the flowers on the mountain combined. He must be the flower fairy Mom talked about, I thought. I lay on the ground, staring at him blankly, wanting to get up but having no strength left. Impressive, he mused. Dragons don't usually have the habit of raising their young. To think you've survived this long following her. I moved my lips, but no sound came out. He seemed to realize something and took my wrist, feeling my pulse. As expected, nearly starved to death. With a flick of his wrist, a small jade bottle appeared in his palm. How is it that every time I see you, I have to save you? Is there some strange destiny between us, little one? I didn't care for his rambling. I grabbed his hand and guzzled the liquid from the bottle. It was cool, refreshing, and sweet. Delicious. It didn't just quench my thirst, it made me feel full. I gulped it down. He didn't look upset at all. Instead, his smile grew even gentler. This guy was actually more generous than my mom. With the drink in my system, my energy returned. I immediately began using grand gestures to describe how that cloud driver had hit me and how my mother had chased him down. He hit you and ran? He asked. Yeah. That's very bad of him. Yeah. I nodded vigorously, feeling completely vindicated. Your mother hasn't returned. What are your plans? I mean, do you want to stay here and wait, or do you want to go down the mountain? I thought about it for a long time. If I kept waiting, I might starve. If I didn't wait, what would happen when Mom came back? Finally, my eyes lit up. I grabbed the hem of his robe and cheered. You take me to find Mom. The immortal pressed a hand to his forehead, looking helpless. You're just a tiny babe. How am I supposed to carry you? You can carry me in your mouth. I am not your mother. Then I'll sit on your head. My head isn't that big. I looked him over carefully. Right, he was in human form. When my mom was human, she either carried me or tucked me under her arm. Then you can carry me in your hand, or tuck me under your armpit. Finally, as if conceding defeat, he leaned down. He slid his hands under my arms and gently picked me up. I found being held like this much more comfortable than being tucked under an arm. I naturally leaned against his shoulder and kicked my legs happily. He laughed, patting my back. What is this? Is it your good luck or my misfortune? Little one, stop kicking. I only found out later that this man carrying me around the world to find my mother was actually Lord Donghua of the Celestial Palace. Lord Donghua lived a secluded life. Very few in the three realms had ever seen him. Some said he was thousands of years old, some said tens of thousands. Others claimed he was as old as heaven and earth themselves. Rumors about Lord Donghua were scarce, usually just about his age or his combat power. Any gossip was boring stuff like, Lord Donghua is in meditation, Lord Donghua is lecturing at Yuling Mountain, Lord Donghua is attending a legal conference. Until today, Lord Donghua heard a brand new piece of gossip with his own ears. Lord Donghua's wife is missing. He's traveling the world with his daughter to find her mother. I held my favorite plate of ribs, my face covered in grease, not caring a bit about what the people at the next table were saying. Lord Donghua leaned his head on his hand, swirling his teacup, and let out a long sigh. Can we stop looking for your mother? No. I shook my head. How about I find you a master to train under? Don't want one. I shook my head again. Your mother hasn't returned to that mountain peak. I just kept chewing. Nom nom nom. Little one, dragons don't have the instinct to raise their young. It's perfectly normal for her to leave you. You shouldn't be so obsessed. My lip trembled, and I looked up and wailed. I want mom. I want mom. I want mom. All right. We'll keep looking. I stopped crying instantly and pointed at the empty plate on the table. More ribs. The day Lord Donghua took me from the mountain, he had already stood up an invite from the South Sea. Later, because we couldn't find my mother, he skipped several more immortal conferences. For 2 years, he carried me from the heavens to the underworld. We looked into the Brahma mirror and checked the ledger of life and death. We still couldn't find a trace of her. Donghua. You've been wise your whole life, but you're a fool now. What do you mean? Lord Donghua asked his friend, the envoy of the bright moon. This earth-shattering search of yours. If she were here, you would have found her even if she were a tiny gnat. Since there's no word, she must be hiding in the mortal realm. Do you think I don't know that? But there are thousands of mortal worlds. I can't take her to every single one. You really are getting old. You've completely forgotten about Lady Yuanji's wells of destiny. I was resting my chin on my hands, watching Lord Donghua and the envoy play chess, when Lord Donghua suddenly dropped his piece. Haha. Don't tell me you're so scared of Lady Yuanji's pestering that you've forced yourself to forget her. The envoy laughed, clearly enjoying his friend's predicament. Let's see if you'll go beg her now. Thanks for the reminder, Lord Donghua said. I really did forget those 3 wells. Lord Donghua, which 3 wells? I asked curiously. It sounded like they could find my mom. Lord Donghua sipped his tea without answering. The envoy picked me up and said, those are the wells of destiny. One shows your past and present lives. One shows your blood relatives. And the last one, it shows your destined match. What's a destined match? I asked. It's the person who will grow up to ride a great horse and marry you. Xinyue, stop it, Donghua warned. She's just a child. Why are you telling her this? I didn't really understand, so I just asked, can the destined match help me find mom? The envoy paused, then burst into laughter, nodding repeatedly. Yes, they definitely can. Lord Donghua shot him a glare, picked me up, and walked away. Lord Donghua, how much longer do we have to stand here? The massive gates in front of us were tightly shut, with no sign of opening. I was losing my patience and started howling while hugging his leg. Don't worry. Lady Yuanji is generous. She'll open the door soon. So she's not your daughter after all. A playful, feminine voice drifted from the sky, and the gates finally creaked open. Lord Donghua, it's been over 1,000 years. I thought you were truly heartless enough to never bring your daughter to see me. Along with the voice, a beautiful figure floated out and landed softly in front of me. After giving Lord Donghua a side eye, she knelt down and tapped my nose. Where did this little person come from? How old are you? Sister, I'm 5. UNG giggled, covering her mouth. Calling me sister? Little one, based on age, you should call me ancestor. Hello, ancestor. I greeted her politely. Suddenly, Lord Donghua reached out and covered my mouth. At the same time, a bolt of heavenly thunder struck down, blasting Lady UNG until she was charred black. Wi. UNG stuttered, smoke billowing from her mouth. Why can't I even handle a greeting from her? Lord Donghua shrugged. The laws of heaven. UNG shook her head in disbelief. My original form was a carp, but I've already leaped over the dragon gate and joined the dragon race. In all my years of cultivation, who could suppress me like this besides a true dragon? Lord Donghua nodded. I nodded too, even though I had no idea what they were talking about. UNG's lip trembled as she pointed at me, tears streaming down her face. This little person is a true dragon? A dragon? I waved my hands in denial. Ancestor, I'm a human. My mom is the dragon. Crack boom. Another series of lightning strikes hit, and Lady UNG was blasted into the shape of a burnt dandelion. While Lady UNG went back to her chambers to fix her hair and makeup, Lord Donghua took me to the Wells of Destiny. Wow. I'm going to find Mom. However, Lord Donghua looked troubled as he faced 3 identical wells. Which one was it again? Seeing him hesitate, I wriggled out of his arms. Mom, which well are you in? I lunged toward the middle well and peered inside. I jumped back in fright. Why was there a giant tiger in the well? Lord Donghua laughed heartily. Our little one was quite fierce in her past life. Not bad at all. I pushed him aside and ran to another well, looking down cautiously. No tiger and no mom. I looked back at Lord Donghua, then back into the well, feeling very strange. There are 2 Lord Donghuas. One out here, and one in the well. I suddenly had a realization. I stood up and pointed a finger at him. Does this mean I was a Lord Donghua in my past life too? Suddenly, a clatter of jade ornaments echoed as Lady UNG came rushing toward us, her steps frantic and uncoordinated. She grabbed me and forced me to look into the well once more. As the reflection of the Emperor's peerless, handsome face appeared in the water again, UNG collapsed to the ground, defeated. No wonder this well could never show me my destined match, she muttered dejectedly. I thought it was because the Emperor had transcended the 3 realms, but it turns out, you simply don't belong to me. A gust of wind whipped past, and I was pressed against the edge of the well again. As the image in the water flickered, I looked back at the Emperor standing beside me. Ha! Lord Donghua, why is your face so black? It was very strange. Ever since we looked into Lady UNG's wells, the Emperor stopped smiling at me. He was constantly scowling, lost in deep, brooding thought. Every time I looked at him, he would rub his temples. Every time I smiled at him, he would punch himself in the forehead. He looked like a man on the brink of a total mental breakdown. I understood then. Lord Donghua was driven mad with rage. I didn't come to this conclusion lightly. A year ago, when he and the envoy of the Bright Moon were playing chess, the envoy had punched his own forehead just like that. When I asked why, the Emperor told me, he can't beat me. He's gone mad with anger. So forehead punching equaled insane with rage. But still, Lord Donghua, why are you angry? He spared me a glance and let out a heavy, weary sigh. I am not angry. Then why are you doing that? I asked, mimicking his gesture of punching his own head. He answered with a voice that sounded like it belonged to a corpse. It's nothing. I just don't particularly feel like living lately. Why don't you feel like living? He paused. I suppose I've lived too long. I'm bored of it. Oh, I nodded solemnly. Lord Donghua is tired of living. I didn't dwell on his walking corpse vibe for long. I had a mother to find. Lady UNG's 3rd well was truly powerful. It showed us exactly where my mom was. She was indeed living the high life in the mortal realm, eating and drinking to her heart's content, with a handsome man draped on her arm. She looked incredibly happy. I wanted to find her immediately, but Lord Donghua explained that the higher one's cultivation, the more one is restricted in the mortal realm. Even he couldn't just cast spells willy-nilly, or he'd face a divine backlash. We had to travel on foot. After walking for many days, my legs felt like they were going to snap. I finally lost my temper, put my hands on my hips, and yelled, "Fine. If you won't fly on a cloud, can't you at least carry me?" No. I stomped my feet in a rage. He used to carry me everywhere. But since the well of destiny, I couldn't even touch the corner of his sleeve. Fine. Then I won't walk either. I tried to run and grab his sleeve, but I realized that no matter how fast or slow I moved, the distance between us remained exactly the same. I couldn't fall behind, but I couldn't get close enough to touch him. I gave up. I stopped, sat down, and started punching my own forehead. I was insane with rage. Seeing that I had stopped, Lord Donghua stopped too, maintaining that same distance. "I suggest you stop hitting yourself." "Why?" "Your brain isn't fully developed yet. You might punch yourself into becoming an idiot." I didn't want to be an idiot, but I wasn't less angry. I had a sudden spark of wisdom, flopped onto the ground and threatened, "If you don't carry me, I'm staying here forever." I don't know how much time passed, but my eyelids grew heavy. Just as I was drifting off, I heard a faint, ethereal sigh. Then a pair of large, gentle hands picked me up. I sank into a familiar warmth. It was the same embrace I had slept in for 2 years. I was thrilled. I wanted to shout, "I won!" But sleep claimed me, dragging me into the darkness. "If you don't want to raise her, don't just throw her away. Please send her to Yuling Mountain. Someone will care for her there." I apologize for the trouble, Immortal. But I must clarify, I didn't throw my child away. I just, got busy and forgot. In my half-awake state, I heard voices. They sounded familiar, but I couldn't quite catch the words. When I finally opened my eyes, the first thing I saw was my mother, sleeping spread-eagle next to me. "Mommy!" I screamed, crawling over her with all my limbs. "Mommy, mommy, mommy." I finally found her. I had to tell Lord Donghua. "Wait, where's Lord Donghua?" "Lord Donghua? You mean that pretty immortal who dropped you off?" My mom sat up and let out a massive yawn. "Yes. Where is he?" "He left. He seemed like he was in a real hurry, so I didn't bother asking him to stay for dinner." I was stunned. Why would he leave? It had never occurred to me that he would actually go. "When is he coming back?" I asked every day. But Lord Donghua was just like my mother. Once he left, he forgot to come back. I missed him for a long time. I even thought about going to the Celestial Palace to find him. But I couldn't get my mom to take me. She was addicted to the mortal world and its food. To be fair, the food was excellent. As I ate my way through the years, I grew up, and the memories of that period and that man began to fade. Centuries passed. By dragon standards, I had just reached adulthood. On my first day as an adult, I woke up with a splitting headache. I clutched my forehead, feeling like something was trying to burst out. My mother inspected me and nodded. "Oh, it's nothing. Just 2 big bumps from a fall." "What? I didn't fall." "Then you bumped into something." "I didn't bump into anything either." "Doesn't matter. I'll put some herbs on it, and you'll be fine." She pulled out a bunch of green leaves, chewed them into a paste, and plastered it onto my forehead. I winced in pain. "Don't worry," she said. "It promotes blood circulation. 1 dose and you're cured." The next day, the swelling was even bigger. "That's impossible," she muttered. "These herbs always work. Are they expired?" It wasn't until my teeth and nails started getting sharper by the day that she finally slapped her thigh in excitement. "I've got it. My child, you're turning into a dragon." "Wait. I'm going deaf?" Note: dragon and deaf are homophones in the original Chinese text. "Is it that serious?" "Haha. I thought you didn't inherit any of my dragon traits, but it turns out you were just a late bloomer. Don't worry, once your true dragon features fully manifest, you'll be just like me, omnipotent in the heavens and the earth." "Mom, before I become a dragon, can you just get me some painkillers? It hurts so much." My mom went out for a bit and returned with medicine. "My child, how strange. That doctor looks exactly like the pretty immortal." "What pretty immortal?" "The Lord Donghua you were looking for." "Who's Lord Donghua?" "The one who raised you for 2 years. Even though he hit you when you first met, he really cared for you later. He made me promise 1,000 times not to lose you again, and told me to go to Yuling Mountain if I needed help. The Lord Donghua who raised me for 2 years? A blurry figure flickered in my mind. A graceful man walking through parting clouds. I tried to remember his face. Smiling eyes, a slight curve of the lips. Despite the fragmented memory, I felt a deep warmth. I think, a beautiful person really did hold me for a long time. As soon as I fully transformed and learned to shift back into human form, the first thing I did was go find that doctor. I had to see what that face, the one that haunted the edges of my memory, actually looked like. Are you here for a consultation or to pick up medicine, miss? Behind the counter stood a young man with a kind smile. He was clean-cut, but I wouldn't call him peerless. I felt a pang of disappointment. He's not that pretty. I whispered. The face that's been bothering me is just this? The young man blinked, then laughed. Ah, are you another one here to gaze upon Dr. Gu's legendary beauty? Please take a number and wait in line. Afei, stop joking. That clear, crisp voice made my spirit jolt. I had heard it before. The curtain was lifted, and I looked up, crashing straight into those familiar eyes. Lord Donghua. I blurted out. The blurry figure became clear. The fragmented face was whole. I finally remembered him. It's you, Lord Donghua. Miss Long, I've told you. Our Dr. Gu is named Gu Zichen. He isn't a lord, or an emperor. Why won't you believe us? Fine, fine. Gu Zichen it is. Where is he? I walked toward the backyard like I owned the place, but Afei rushed to block me. Dr. Gu is out on a house call. The magistrate sent a carriage for him early this morning. The magistrate again? Is everyone in his family sickly? Humph. It's not that they're sick. It's just that the magistrate's youngest daughter has a crush on our Dr. Gu, so she falls ill quite frequently. Falls ill frequently? Afei's words were like a bolt of lightning. Of course. If you're sick, the doctor has to see you. Afei, to be honest, I'm not here to catch up today. I'm actually ill. Oh, what's wrong with you? Consultation or medicine? Afei looked me up and down skeptically. From your behavior, Miss Long, you look remarkably sturdy. You don't look sick at all. Does it have to be me? Can't my mom be sick? No. Your mother is even sturdier than you are. Afei pointed to the door. My mom was currently rolling up her sleeves, gambling with a crowd of men. Big, big, big. The bowl was lifted, she won. In her excitement, she grabbed the burly man standing next to her and lifted him over her head like a trophy. I slapped Afei on the shoulder. Look, if that isn't a sickness, what is? What kind of normal mother lifts grown men for fun? Afei was speechless. He silently opened the registration book. I peeked over and saw that in the symptoms column, he wrote 3 words, total mental patient. If you want to see Gu Zichen, you have to be a patient. After days of missing him, he finally showed up at my door. Miss Long, where is your mother? She went out to play. I poured some tea, but he didn't even sit. He turned to leave. Wait. Lord Donghua, wait. Miss Long, my surname is Gu. I am not the emperor you speak of. Right, slip of the tongue. Dr. Gu. Can I call you Dr. Gu? Gu Zichen frowned. Since your mother isn't here, we'll reschedule the exam for another day. Seeing him leaving, I panicked. Wait. I'm sick too. He looked at me with pure suspicion. Really? I've been feeling terrible lately. I need you to check me. Is that so? Where does it hurt? I hurt everywhere. Miss Long, please stop making trouble. What trouble? It's not like I won't pay the fee. Besides, you're a doctor. Can you really just watch me die? Gu Zichen couldn't win the argument, so he finally sat down. Hello, Dr. Gu. Have some tea. I respectfully handed him a cup, but he ignored it. If you're unwell, let's check your pulse. Crap. If he figures out I'm faking, will he be mad? I felt a bit intimidated. Even though he claimed he wasn't the emperor, he had the same aura, gentle eyes that hid a terrifying pressure. I couldn't resist. I obediently put my hand on the pulse cushion. As his fingertips pressed against my wrist, I frantically tried to come up with an excuse. When he caught me, should I lie or confess? I was torn. Then I noticed his expression was even more conflicted than mine. Dr. Gu, what's wrong? One moment, Miss Long. He turned and pulled a medical book from his kit, flipping through it right in front of me. Wait, aren't you a divine doctor? Are you seriously learning on the job? I felt a surge of confidence. If he had to check a book, he definitely couldn't bust me. But after he finished reading, his expression turned grave. His lips parted, delivering a fatal blow. Miss Long, you aren't human. I slammed the table and stood up. Look, we're both civilized people. Why are you calling me names? I pointed at him, indignant. He looked at me, calm as still water. Neither of us was willing to back down. Suddenly, a commotion erupted in the street. People were running in terror. Dragon! Dragon! There's a dragon! My whole body stiffened. How did they find out? I only just transformed. Is my cover blown already? I looked at Gu Zichen, but he had already dashed to the door. I followed him and saw the citizens in a panic. Go look. There's a dragon in the moat. It's bigger than the whole street. Don't go. Hide. Dragons eat people. I punched my own forehead. That idiot is definitely my mother. When I was little, she had revealed her true form in the mortal realm and caused a total disaster. When she sobered up, she was so embarrassed she grabbed me and fled to Qingqiu, where we lived next to a pack of foxes for 100 years. What happened this time? Miss Long, where are you going? I'm going to see my mom. I saw his confused look and quickly corrected myself. I'm going to find my mom. She loves a good show. I don't want her getting hurt by the dragon. I ran toward the moat, and to my surprise, Gu Zichen followed me. I didn't have time to worry about it. From a distance, I saw my mom thrashing in the water. It was like she had lice. She was churning the river into mud, ruining the trees and crops nearby. She didn't care. She was belching, the air thick with the smell of wine. I tried to get closer, but Gu Zichen grabbed me. It's dangerous. Actually, true dragons are very noble. They don't hurt people easily. How do you know? My mom told me. Technically the truth. Even if it doesn't mean to, such a massive creature is dangerous to be near. He wouldn't let me go, so I just shouted, "Stop it! Go back home." After a few shouts, she finally noticed me. I waved at her to leave. Instead, she wobbled her massive body toward me, trying to crawl onto the bank. She was wasted. It's coming this way. Run. Gu Zichen grabbed my arm and pulled me away. I looked back. Seeing me being dragged away, my mom seemed to get angry. She suddenly took flight, lunging straight at us. I knew her target was Gu Zichen, but he didn't know that. In the moment of crisis, he threw me to the ground and covered me with his own body to protect me. Don't! I screamed. My mom didn't listen. She opened her mouth, snatched Gu Zichen off of me, and tossed him aside. He hit the ground and was knocked out instantly. Crap, crap, crap. Mom. Wake up. This is the mortal realm. Stop it. At the words mortal realm, her eyes cleared a bit. I seized the chance. Your precious Mr. Zhang might be watching right now. Her eyes went wide with horror. The massive dragon had started looking around frantically. Don't look for him. Just hide. The giant dragon suddenly forgot how to fly. She scrambled into the moat like a lizard and disappeared beneath the surface. Back at the clinic, Afei was treating Gu Zichen. Fortunately, the injuries weren't severe, just some bruises. He just needed rest. I sat by his bed, completely puzzled. He was so fragile. Was he really not the emperor? But besides the lack of a mortal aura, he was identical. It didn't matter. Whoever he was, I just wanted him to be happy. Miss Long, run. Gu Zichen was mumbling in his sleep. He was either telling me to be careful or to run away. Looking at his pale face, I was overwhelmed with guilt. It was all my fault. And yet, instead of hating me, he was worried about me. He was such a good man. Suddenly, I heard a ruckus outside. It was the magistrate's daughter. Afei was trying to stop her. Miss, Dr. Gu cannot see guests right now. Please understand. Don't worry, Afei. My lady is just here to check on him. We won't disturb his rest. Wait, don't go in. The door burst open. Master Gu. Pink dress, pink ribbons, a face like a peach blossom. She was a very pretty girl. I was sitting on the edge of the bed. Before I could even say hello, her maid shouted, "Are you the woman who attracted that fallen dragon? Master Gu was hurt trying to save you, wasn't he?" I nodded. That was true. I was still feeling guilty about it. The pink lady looked like she was about to faint. Don't get ahead of yourself. Just because he saved you doesn't mean he likes you or will marry you. You're dreaming. Wait, what? Why would he like me or marry me? I didn't ask him to like me or marry me. You truly don't want to marry him? I had been chasing him every day, and my head was full of him, but I actually hadn't thought about marriage. I shook my head honestly. He's awake. Afei cheered. I turned around. Huh. Dr. Gu, why is your face so black? Wasn't he just pale a second ago? Afei, show the guests out. With that order, Afei kicked everyone, including me, out of the room. The pink lady left in tears. I shouted back toward the room. Dr. Gu, I'll see you tomorrow. Then I was given the cold shoulder for 3 days. My mom gave me some advice. Men usually need to be coaxed. Next time, don't go empty-handed. Bring him something he likes. When he's happy, he won't just see you, you might even get a kiss out of it. I nodded, wanting to ask more, but she waved me off. Go figure it out yourself. I have to go hear Mr. Meng sing opera. Wasn't it Mr. Zhang? Mr. Zhang is for tomorrow. I bowed. Lesson learned. I found out from Afei that Gu Zichen wanted to find wild ginseng from Sword Peak Mountain, but the terrain was too dangerous to climb. Miss Long, if you have feelings for him, you better hurry, Afei warned. Why? The magistrate can't say no to his daughter. He's already sent someone to ask for Dr. Gu's birth signs for a marriage match. So she's going to marry him? Afei stomped his feet. No. If the magistrate proposes, Dr. Gu will definitely refuse. I'm just afraid he'll offend the magistrate and his life will be ruined. Are you sure he'll refuse? Of course. I've been with him for years, and he's never looked at a woman. Except for the first time he saw you. He looked like a love-struck teenager. But then you started calling him Lord this and Emperor. That and you basically crushed the spark before it could grow. Sword Peak Mountain was exactly what it sounded like, a sharp blade piercing the clouds. For the old me, it would have been impossible. But now, I was stuck in a tree, in dragon form. Mum, why is it so hard to move after transforming? My forelimbs felt like wild animals that refused to cooperate. I struggled, but I couldn't even shift back into human form. Because the mountain was so treacherous, no one found me for a day and a night. Slowly, my human consciousness began to fade. I almost forgot I was ever human. I was about to snap at a passing rabbit when I heard a voice in the distance. Miss Long. My human mind snapped back. Terrified he would see me like this, I forced a transformation. Poof. I was human again, but the shock left me dizzy. I'm over here. I shouted before collapsing. I realized then that this mountain was strange. Some power was fighting against my dragon essence. The dragon traits inside me were thrashing, almost impossible to suppress. Miss Long. Gu Zichen crawled toward me, covered in mud. He looked frantic, his usual calm completely gone. I smiled and tried to greet him, and his eyes immediately turned red. Don't be afraid. I'm here. He held me, and I was so weak I had to lean against his chest. It's my fault. I shouldn't have closed the door on you. If I hadn't, you wouldn't have come to a place like this. As he checked my vitals, he gently pulled back my sleeve. My heart stopped. Scales. I was trying so hard to stay human, but the scales were showing. I heard from my ancestors that this mountain forces non-humans to show their true form, he whispered. But it's okay. Once we leave, you'll be fine. Don't be afraid. I'll take you down. Dr. Gu, aren't you afraid? Of what? I'm not human. Your pulse told me that a long time ago. He smiled gently, leaning down to pick me up on his back. The first time I saw you, I thought, a girl this beautiful and spirited couldn't possibly belong to the mortal world. Beautiful and spirited? I looked at my scaly arms and sharp nails. I touched the horns on my head. I felt like crying. But I'm ugly now. You're not. I haven't seen other demons, but a dragon like you must be the most beautiful of them all. I laughed, then quickly stifled it before I lost control and turned back into a dragon. We finally made it down the mountain and rested under a large tree. Looking at the disheveled, mud-stained doctor, I sighed. What a shame. I wish I had found that wild ginseng. It's fine. I have plenty at the shop. So Afei told him everything. It's not the same. My mom said if I gave you a gift and you were happy, you wouldn't just see me, you'd kiss me. Huh. Dr. Gu, why is your face so red? Miss Long, don't say such things. Is she wrong? If I give you ginseng, won't you MMPH? He covered my mouth with his hand. Since I was still weak, I stayed quiet. You don't need to give me anything. He looked at me, his hand moving from my mouth to cover my eyes. In the darkness, I felt him move closer. Then, my lips met something soft. He smelled like herbs and spice. I was lost in it. When my mother found out I was marrying Gu Zichen, she looked genuinely confused. Marrying him? Does that mean you can only kiss him for the rest of your life? Yes. What if you meet a more handsome male? What if you like 3 males at the same time? I thought about it. I was pretty sure I would never like anyone but Gu Zichen. Mom, I only want him. The look she gave me was the look you give a total idiot. On our wedding day, Gu Zichen arrived on a tall white horse. In his red wedding robes, he looked absolutely magnificent, drawing cheers from the whole town. I hid my face behind a fan and stepped into the bridal sedan, my heart racing. Human life is short, but that's okay. I'll walk with him until the very end. Extra chapter. My husband buried my body in the mortal world on a Tuesday morning. By Tuesday afternoon, I was already back in the immortal realm. My eyes were still puffy, and my funeral tears weren't even dry yet. Then I saw him. Gu Zichen. Longer. It was really him. Overjoyed, I threw myself into his arms, nearly knocking the wind out of him. Gu Zichen, you scared me to death. I thought I'd never see you again. I'm back, Longer, he whispered, holding me tight. We're never going to be apart again. We stood there, locked in a passionate embrace, kissing as if the rest of the world didn't exist. Of course, that's exactly when the awkward coughing started. I pulled back to see 2 people standing nearby. One was a tall, elegant, and incredibly handsome man. The other was a stunningly beautiful woman with a graceful air. They looked familiar, terribly familiar, but for the life of me, I couldn't remember where I'd seen them. Donghua, we're so sorry, the man said, sounding genuinely sheepish. We were just so curious that we couldn't help but follow you. We didn't mean to eavesdrop on. Well, that. I froze. I pulled back and stared at Gu Zichen, my eyes wide. Donghua? He called you Donghua? You really are Lord Donghua, aren't you? I am. Then why did you deny it so many times back then? Longer, it's a long story, he said, his voice dropping into that gentle, cautious tone he used when he was afraid I'd be mad. In short, at that time, I truly was only Gu Zichen. I looked at him. He looked nervous, his eyes searching mine for any sign of anger. It reminded me of our years in the mortal world. How he could never bear to see me frown and would spend hours patiently coaxing a smile back onto my face. How could I possibly stay mad at a man like that? I'm not angry, I said, reaching up to pat his cheek. I don't care what your name is. Lord, Emperor, Doctor. It doesn't matter. You're my man. My child, don't be sad. A booming, familiar voice echoed through the courtyard. Your mother has found you some top-tier men. They're every bit as good as that dead husband of yours. My mother's voice cut off abruptly as she rounded the corner. She blinked several times, staring at Donghua as if she were seeing a ghost. Son-in-law, she finally asked. Wait, didn't I just see you get put in the ground? Mother-in-law, Donghua replied, his voice sounding a bit strained, like he was speaking through gritted teeth. I've returned. There will be no need for you to find new men for my wife. Donghua had always been wary of my mother's unique views on romance and relationships. He lived in constant fear that her habits might rub off on me. To him, my mother was a person who needed to be monitored at all times. My mother waved her hand dismissively. Fine, if you don't want them, forget it. She turned to leave but then noticed the other two guests. "Oh, who is this beauty? You look familiar." The beautiful woman immediately dropped to her knees and bowed her head. "I am Yuanji. I pay my respects to the true dragon." My mother ignored her and turned to the handsome man instead. "And you're the envoy of the bright moon from Yuling Mountain, right? I saw you at a Taotai feast once." The man bowed respectfully. "It is an honor that you remember me, great dragon." "Indeed I am he." My mother smacked her lips, a look of regret crossing her face. That was a magnificent feast. It's a shame they only happen once every 800 years. Truly annoying. "Since the great dragon has mentioned it," the envoy replied quickly, "I shall send out the orders immediately. We will arrange a Taotai feast as soon as possible." My mother's face lit up with such joy I thought she might adopt the envoy as her godson right then and there. Before she left, she helped Lady Yuanji up and patted her on the shoulder. "I remember you now, little Yuanji. You've done quite well for yourself up here in the heavens all these years." "I am humbled," Yuanji whispered. "Everything I have is thanks to the great dragon's protection." Of course, my mom said breezily. With a wave of her hand, my mother led her massive entourage of handsome men and marched out of the courtyard in a grand, chaotic procession. I realized I had no idea how long it would be before she remembered to visit me again. "Mom," I shouted after her. "Gu Zichen is Lord Donghua. You didn't get it wrong." I know. Her voice drifted back from the distance.
Thank you for listening Beneath the Moonlight. If this story touched your heart, remember to subscribe to Moonlit Love Stories for more tales of love and destiny. Until we meet again, may the moonlight keep you company.